we can reconvene.
Hold on one second, let me see if that's...
She is on.
Who are we missing?
On,
We good?
can you hear me?
Yes.
I hear the controller.
Fantastic. Good afternoon,
Hold on
everyone.
one second, we're trying to get the visual. Are you on,
Is AT&T
No,
up?
I'm just dialing in. I
Okay.
didn't have the link, the visual link to me, so I'm just hear audio.
okay,
Okay.
thank you.
You're welcome.
So we're going to go back to the vote for item F1, audits for items F1C, F1D, and F1E. We had taken everyone else's vote on this item. It was a motion to adopt the board's recommendation on the audits, and we are here to collect the Controller Cohen's vote. Ms. Cohen, what is your vote?
My vote is aye. Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Cohen. So recorded.
Thank you.
Do we have to get her vote on each item, or are you doing all of them
We
at
did
once?
it, we took a vote as all total.
Okay.
So she could only vote as a total as well. So she cannot vote individually.
All righty?
Position for motion.
Yes.
All righty, so we're going to continue on to our next items on the agenda
Yes, Ms.
in
Machado?
order.
Okay.
We left off on item K3, so we're going to go to item K4, which is Property Tax Deputy Director's Report. K4A is operational updates, report on the status of pending and upcoming projects, activities, and departmental issues, including letters to the assessors, appraisal, training, and certification, and state assessed property. This item will be presented by Mr. Young.
Thank you, and good afternoon, Chair Vasquez, Vice Chair Lieber, honorable members of the board. My name is David Young, and for the record, I'm the Deputy Director of the Property Tax Department. With me, I have my team, Ms. Glenna Schultz, which will present the County Assessed Properties Division's update, and Mr. McCool, who will present the State Assessed Properties update. But I will first start with a brief update as to our efforts in promulgating the two Prop 19 rules. So the two Prop 19 rules, as you will recall, is Rule 462.520 for the intergenerational transfer and 462.540, which is for the base year transfers. We were successful in getting the extension on those emergency rules. So those emergency rules will be effective until March 19th of this year. That will give us a little bit of time to complete making those two rules permanent. As you will recall, we were asked to republish those two rules for public comment. That was completed. The last day to submit written comments was actually yesterday. So we typically give them an extra day or two in case somebody actually mailed comments in, so for us to review. With that, we will address any comments that we will receive and hopefully complete the process of turning those two rules from temporary to basically a permanent rule. So that is my update as to the projects going on with the Property Tax Department. I'm available for any questions you may have. If not, I will turn over to Ms. Schultz for the next two presentations.
Seeing no hands, I guess we can continue.
Thank you very much. Ms. Schultz, are you available for the letters to assessors?
Good afternoon, Chair Vasquez and honorable board members. I'm Glenna Schultz, Principal Property Appraiser in the County Assessed Properties Division. Today, I will provide you with a brief report on letters to assessors. Attached to this month's agenda is a memo on letters to assessors, which provides a list of the LTAs that have been issued since our last board meeting. In addition, the memo provides a link to the BoE's website where a list of all LTAs can be found that have been issued to date. As of the date of the attached memo, BoE staff has issued a total of 8 LTAs for calendar year 2023. Those 8 LTAs are summarized as follows. An LTA to issue an assessment sampling survey report for Imperial County, an LTA to issue the 2022 Salary and Benefits Survey Report, an LTA to announce the vessel valuation factors for lien date 2023, an LTA to issue the property tax forms list, an LTA to issue an assessment practices survey report for Kings County, an LTA to issue a 15-day notice to amend Property Tax Rule 462.540, an LTA to issue a 15-day notice to amend Property Tax Rule 462.520, and an LTA to issue the California Standard Flight Times Table. This concludes my report on letters to assessors. I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions?
I was going to say, I just want to make sure for the record, Ms. Cohen, I believe, is still on the line.
That's correct, but I'm actually dropping off now. So good afternoon and goodbye, everyone. Keep up the good work. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for. I was going to ask her if she had a question, but I guess not. So we can continue, I guess.
Okay.
Okay. I will now provide a brief report on the BOE's appraisal training and certification program. For fiscal year 2022-23, we have scheduled 33 classes, both in-person and virtual. In addition to these classes, we have scheduled 3 workshops, one on mineral property, one on geothermal property, and one on taxable possessory interests. To date, we have completed 23 of the 33 classes and the workshop on mineral property. Since the last board meeting, we have taught 4 more classes. We also continue to offer our existing online training courses available through American River College and California State University, Sacramento, as well as our online courses available on the BOE's website, plus our self-study training sessions also available on the BOE's website. With this combination of different types of teaching formats being offered and utilizing more staff from other sources, we anticipate being able to far surpass the number of courses offered and the number of students taught in recent years. This concludes my report on training and certification, and I am available to answer any questions you may have.
Seeing no hands, I guess we can continue.
Thank you.
Mr. McCool?
Thank you. Good afternoon again, Chair Vasquez and honorable members of the board. My name is Jack McCool, Chief of the State Assessed Properties Division, and today I will provide a brief update on the status of ongoing work in our division. Staff are continuing to prepare for the upcoming appraisal season. We have recently published our annual condition percent good factors and the remaining economic life table to the agency's open data portal. We are still working on the replacement cost new factors, and we hope to have those published on the data portal soon. And as I've mentioned in previous months, utilization of the open data portal is a new approach for our group, and we're excited about adding to that going forward. We are also focusing a lot of attention on the annual capitalization rate study, which we are on track to complete in early to mid-March. Finally, we're already starting to receive some of the annual state assessed property statements, which are due on March 1st, and staff are busy working on those. That, of course, means that we will be very busy the next few months working on the unitary state assessed appraisals. That concludes my report on the status of ongoing work in our division for this month, and I'm available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Seeing no hands, I have just one quick one, Mr. McCool.
Sure.
On your update, I'm glad to hear that we are providing data that is not only useful, but useful as well, usable, I should say, as well. Providing the data that is compatible with external users, in my opinion, will certainly speed up some of the processes that we make and hopefully a little bit more accurate. Can we make all data, not just some, in compatible format that assessees can use?
So we are actually in the early stages of trying to convert all of our public-facing data into data that is that we can transport or upload into the open data portal. We've selected some of our annual factors to start with, and we have a little bit of a lead time creating the data sets templates for the open data portal. That's proven to be more time-consuming than we initially thought. But as we go forward, once those templates are created with our partners in the Technology Services Division, it should be much easier for us to upload our data annually into the data portal. So yes, as we go on, we look to expand the amount of data that we can have on the Open Data Portal.
Appreciate it. Thank you. I think that's all I have. I don't see no other hands, so continue.
That concludes our,
All the
our report.
reports.
So thank you.
Ms. Cicchetti?
The
what's our
next item on the agenda, yes, is the Executive Director's Report, K5, Legislative, Research and Statistics Division Chief's Report, K5A, Legislative Issues, Update on Administrative and Program-Related Legislative Bills Impacting BoE. This item will be presented by Ms. Renati.
Good afternoon, Lisa Renati, Chief Deputy Director. Today I'll provide a report on the workload of our Legislative Research and Statistics Division. The last day to submit bills was Friday, February 17th, and we are tracking and monitoring bills that could impact the BOE's tax programs or our administration. Attached to today's agenda is a listing of these bills that we captured as of Friday morning, so there may be more that are not on that list. Staff are currently working on in-depth analyses for these items, and once complete, the analyses will be provided to you and posted on our website. Additionally, we continue to track the 3 agency legislative proposals approved by the board in November 2022. These include 2 proposals affecting the alcoholic beverage tax to increase the efficiency administration of the program with no fiscal impact, and another technical proposal affecting our property tax program, which clarifies changes made by Prop 19 and SB 539. This concludes my report, and I am happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Renati. I know you're filling in some big shoes here,
Really big shoes.
so I'm going to go real easy on you right here. but-
Okay.
But I did notice, and I guess it's out of the 13, well, you listed, the ones you listed for us and you provided us, out of the 13 property tax related bills on the legislative calendar, at least 7, maybe even 9 deal directly with exemptions. So it's clearly that property tax exemptions are receiving significant attention in the legislature, which is, I think is good.
Yes.
And moving forward, there was the ones that I really want to get an analysis, but I think it's maybe a little premature because you've just received these yourself. But I just want to give you a heads up, is SB 320,
Okay.
AB 84, and AB 362. Looking forward to the bill analysis on those, as when you find some time to do those,
We'll try to get those done soon.
I'd appreciate it. I don't know if anybody else has any other, Mr. Schaefer, Member Schaefer, go ahead.
Yes, Ms. Renati, since Mr. Weatherby left us, you've taken over his chores, and I guess you'd been involved with him before that. Are we going to be needing to replace him, or can you, we look forward to you being our guru in this topic?
We're actively recruiting for the vacant position. It's currently posted on the Cal Careers website with a final filing date, I think, of March 2nd. So anyone that's interested in applying should do so and join the merit hiring process.
Sure, well, I appreciate all you
can't
bring.
apply, you cannot apply, Mike.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would rattle too many cages. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's it, unless there's other, I don't see no other hands. Thank you.
All righty.
Ms. Cicchetti, what,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair,
Vice Chair Labor, yes.
I was wondering if you could repeat the numbers of the bills
Oh,
that you're
sure.
particularly interested in. I think some of our careful listeners would be appreciative of getting those again.
Yes, it's SB 320, AB 84, and AB 362. And just so I guess people know, since you're right, the listeners, SB 320 was introduced by Skinner. AB 84 was by Ward. And AB 362, I believe, was by Lee.
Thank
So
you.
for those that might be following those. And I had some real specific questions on it, but I'll hold them until we get back our analysis. Thank you for that. With that, Ms. Cicchetti, if we can continue.
Yes, we can. We're up to item L, board member requested matters. We're up to item L1, new matters, L1A, agenda structure update. Discuss the board meeting agenda template and the procedures for board modification and approval. Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Mr.
Members,
Vasquez, before we go further, I apologize. I looked at my notes, and I failed to go to public comment for all the executive director reports.
okay,
And
let's
so
do that.
before we proceed to the L items, I'd like to make a correction. I'd like to, at this time, make for the record that we have nobody in the boardroom, and I have no written comments for the executive director reports. We're going to go to the AT&T moderator at this time to see if we have anyone on the line. AT&T moderator, can you please tell us if there's anyone on the line who'd like to make a public comment regarding the executive director reports?
As a reminder, for comment by phone, press 10 on your phone's keypad, please. And we have no listeners that have queued up.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Then we'll go to the L items. So L1A is the agenda structure update.
Thank you. Members, I would like to postpone this matter to next month.
Oh, yes, I'm on, okay.
Oh, somebody talking? We good? Okay.
Somebody was mumbling.
Yeah,
I thought I was going to hurt some of myself, too.
is that AT&T or something?
Yeah, maybe 18.
Okay. We can hear you, AT&T. Okay. I would like to collaborate moving forward with our executive director and propose for some consideration as we look to possibly modify the agenda and possibly look at the board reference manual. So, and this item to be considered, hopefully, I think by next month, and I'm looking at it, my executive director, if that's sufficient time.
That's fine, sir. The pleasure of the board. But I will say that when we do prepare the agenda each month, we do look and work through the board reference manual and the board workload and calendar that the board approved in September of last year, including every constitutional and statutory item that we need to address. But I'm more than happy to work with your office for any further clarification on changing the agenda format.
Appreciate it. Yes, Vice Chair, Ms. Vice Chair Lieber?
Thank you, Chair. Well, I looked through the proposed format that was attached to the item, and I very much appreciate how much more readable it is and digestible and understandable. And I really strongly support the moving the public comment on items that are not on the agenda up to the beginning. I think that's standard for just about every deliberative body in California. And I think it really gives taxpayers who would want to comment on matters and they aren't sure when during the year it might come up, or they just need to make their view heard, that they can do it at the beginning and not have to monitor a full day of activities and kind of stay tethered to the computer and the phone and whatnot. So I'd like to move towards the new format as expeditiously as we can, just in terms of readability and standardization and clarity for the members of the public that are digesting the agenda.
I would second that if it's a motion moving forward. I think it's criminal to have somebody have to wait all day to find out when they can be heard. They come here for one isolated item, we come here for the whole calendar, and we can sit for the whole calendar, but it's unfair to them. And I would like to see, when we finish the Pledge of Allegiance, we just get them on and off and out of our way so we can go forward without any further inconvenience to the taxpayers.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lieber, Member Schaefer. That is one of our goals, was to move that up earlier on the agenda. I believe it was after roll call and the approval of the prior board minutes, following Robert's Rule of Order. And we did, as part of our goal to modernize the BoE and our strategic plan, we did take a look at other public bodies and how they structure their agenda, and was basically following their format. I recognize that this is a change. And change for some may be a challenge, especially for those of us who's been around for quite some time. I've been dealing with the board agenda since 2007, 2008. And this is change, but it's a good change. So I appreciate the support and hope that we could move forward in modernizing our agenda format.
Through the chair, if I.
Oh, yes,
if I
go
may.
ahead.
I just wanted to answer Mr. Schaefer's question about, is this a motion? Well, it can't be because it's not noticed as an action item. But I think that we can be more effective and appear as effective as we are if we kind of modernize it a little bit. I think sometimes very hard for folks to understand maybe why is it starting with item K or whatnot, and it becomes kind of, well, you know, why is it not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6?
So, Ms. Lieber, I don't
Yeah.
think we need a formal motion on a lot of these things because I think they're housekeeping and they're discretion of whoever's making up the calendar. And I can't see Mr. Nanjo or anyone else raising an objection to the informality of such things as, in what order do we call the calendar, you know?
Actually, I mean, to all due respect to the chairman, I think he was asking us to put it over, but it is actually on the agenda as an action item.
Yeah,
So-
so members, Chairman Vasquez, Vice Chair Lieber, honorable members of the board, Henry Nanjo again. Yes, Ms. Stowers is correct. The L items are listed for possible action, so you could take an action on it. Just to review for the board members procedurally, what happened is this is an item that was placed on the agenda by Chairman Vasquez, and as it is his item, it is his discretion to put it over or not. But the board can have a discussion, the board can attempt to change Chairman Vasquez's mind. Those are all fair items, but that procedurally what's happened is it was agendized, it is agendized for possible action, but because it is the chairman's item, he has elected to put it over. Hope that clarifies things.
I think so. Well, Member Gaines, go ahead.
If I could just make a couple of comments.
Sure.
Just in general about the agenda. So will we be able to craft the agenda in such a way that when we know that we're going to have individuals speak on a particular issue, that would be either at the front of the meeting or we would have an estimated time of when we'd get to that part of the agenda to discuss it?
It depends on the actual topic.
Okay.
If it's something that we have to decide as our constitutional function or statutorial, that would be the first part of the agenda. That's our recommendation, is to start with the order,
Okay.
roll call, and do those items next. And then the operational reports, my report and all of my staff report would follow.
Okay.
If there's a public policy hearing that we are going to have, we will have the flexibility of putting it up front.
Okay.
If it's a board member item, we'll have the flexibility. What I'm proposing is what Vice Chair Lieber said, is to move away from A, B, C, D, and E, and just have the description of the item. If we know we're going to have a public policy hearing, let's say we're going to have it on Proposition 19. We know it, we plan for it, it's on the agenda, and we set it at a time that's best suited for the public, the members, and your speakers.
That's great. Yeah, I love those ideas. And Tony, you think we need a little time to refine it before we make a decision? Is that?
That's where I'm looking, because we've had some conversations, but we really haven't been able to resolve a couple of the issues that we're kind of discussing now.
All right.
And hearing your feedback, I think has been helpful.
Okay.
Because I think you're actually weighing in and helping, at least myself. And now when I regroup with the executive director,
Good.
hopefully we'll come back with something that we all can agree on here. And I think the public comment is one key one that we were looking at already. The other one we always, and it actually happens sometimes when you're sitting in these meetings, when you see an elected official, you usually try to be respectful of their time and allow for that.
We tried that this morning.
We did, and he seemed to be open. He was flexible, or at
He
least
said
he
he could be back. I tried to get him on now because I like to hear what he has to say. Any of our assessors, whatever they say is important.
Yes. And he's in the queue and he's listed in here to come back, so hopefully that'll happen. But
Yeah, well.
I think we should be
Yeah, I'll just
flexible on that.
follow the chair's lead in terms of how you want to handle that.
I think we could work
Go
on
from
it,
there.
that we could be more flexible, sir.
Yes.
And our agenda and to reflect our workload. So I look forward to working with your office. I do like the idea of having our agenda identify as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 as items, and knowing that these items are being placed on the agenda. What we do behind the scene is based on our workload and what you guys approved in September. We have a template that we are following. So nothing, I promise you, nothing will be overlooked. We are a date-driven agency. And we know what we have to do. We know from this point, from now to June, I will have a report on assessors asking for an extension of time. We know in May that we're going to set the value for the state assessees. We know February, we had our opportunity for the public to comment, and we're going to do it again in July. We know in November, December, we're going to possibly have hearings, petitions. We know our cycle, and we follow it. Board proceedings, excellent. So,
I appreciate that. Executive Director Stowers, thank you.
So, Chairman Vasquez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Lieber, members of the board, you do have the flexibility if you want to for next month, either from next month on or just for next month. If you want to move the N item out of order to the beginning of the agenda, that's the public comment on matters not on the agenda, you could do that. Obviously, to Executive Director Stowers' point, it's kind of odd because you have N before A, but other than that, it is your agenda to do what you wish. So that is something that you could do if you wish to.
and before A is odd.
And it sounds like there's a consensus on
There's a
that, so
consensus. So we could
we
work
could do
on-
that, and then we'll work
Let's-
with the
let's work on
numeration.
how we
Yes.
deal with it,
Yes.
and make it easy for everyone to follow without talking.
User-friendly as much as
User-friendly.
possible.
That's all we want, is a
Yes.
very user-friendly agenda to be as transparent as possible.
That's great. I
That works.
appreciate Chair Vasquez for bringing this issue up. It'll
Thank
be
you
nice
all.
and simpler.
Ms. Cicchetti, I think we're ready to go.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is L, Board Member Requested Matters. L2, Board Member Initiatives. L2A is Proposal for Public Policy Hearing on an Assessment Appeals Board Training Course to be offered through the County Councils Association of California. Schedule a public policy hearing regarding a training course on Assessment Appeals Board property tax rules and procedures to be offered voluntarily through the County Councils Association of California.
Yes, members, as I stated in my revised February 17th memo to you, this is a proposal to approve the offer submitted by Mr. Thomas Parker, County of Los Angeles Senior Deputy County Council on February 15th to assist in drafting the AAB County Council Training Course covering property tax rules 301-326. As Mr. Parker states in his remarks that you were sent and that we'll read into the record, he has been authorized by the county to proceed with the development of a training course based on timeline that is reasonable for his work schedule, and he will submit the draft to the executive director on completion. I will collaborate with Ms. Stowers and legal and property tax departments to schedule their review of the materials and determine a timetable. I will then ask the board to set a hearing date to allow public discussion with stakeholders prior to any approval. Regarding the use of the course by the County Councils Association, Mr. Parker is authorized by them to confirm 3 things. Number 1, at any county council training course produced by the board will be made available to county tax attorneys for their review and reference. 2, that the association will not direct or require that it be used at a specific event, but the individuals involved in setting up the conference events may decide to use it at various times or not, as they determine. And number 3, the association will not claim it as their own, but it will remain as the board's course. At this time, I ask Ms. Cicchetti
Yep.
if Mr. Parker's statement can be read into the record and be available.
Yes, be happy to. From Mr. Parker. My name is Thomas Parker. I am a senior deputy county counsel for Los Angeles County and counsel to the Los Angeles County Assessment Appeals Board, LAAAB. I have practiced property tax law since 1994. I apologize that I cannot appear in person or by telephone before your board today. I am out of the office on personal family matters from 17 to 22 February 2023. Regarding the item on the possible development of AAB council training on the State Board of Equalization AAB-related procedural rules, 301 to 326, I offer the following comments for the State Board's consideration. 1, I am authorized by the Statewide County Councils Association to say that an AAB council training produced by the SBOE will be made available to county tax attorneys for their review and reference as they may choose to use. The association does not and will not adopt such training as their own. Additionally, each association study group for the different areas of municipal law sets its own agendas for the association conferences. The individuals creating the agendas for each study group will vary over time. It is not possible for the association leadership to direct that any particular topic be presented at any conference. 2, I appear before the State Board today only representing myself. I offer no recommendation to the State Board either for or against the production of such proposed training. Neither does my employer, the County of Los Angeles, offer any position for or against the idea. 3, I am volunteering to assist with the production of draft AAB council training materials regarding Rules 301 to 326 for review by your board's legal staff and your board's ultimate review if your board chooses to go forward with this proposed project at any point in time. 4, I am also not offering any view or recommendation regarding the timing of the production of AAB council training material regarding Rules 301 to 326, should your board decide to authorize the effort beyond suggesting a reasonable time period that allows me to also carry out my Los Angeles County Council assignments as they arise. Thank you for your consideration of these comments and remarks. Thomas R. Parker.
Thank you. Members, do we have any comments or questions? Yes, Vice Chair Lieber.
Thank you, Chair. It seems like this would be a very beneficial thing, given that it needs to be happening for individuals who are a member of an AAB. Would this have staffing impacts for the BoE to be developing this?
Thank you, Vice Chair Lieber, for that question. Let me start with a little background. The issue of providing training for county council has been raised for at least a year or two. I believe most recently, the assessors in your district expressed a desire, and we met with the assessors, and staff was basically asked, what type of training do you think county council would like to have? And we said, we do have training that we provide for the new members, AAB members. And could we look at that training and tailor that training to what council would like to have? Because yes, it will create a staffing issue. We, up until Mr. Parker offer, we did not have any idea what type of training that county council wanted. Now county council is basically saying, just look at the procedure rules, property tax rules, 301 to 326. We have, those are our rules. They wrote them. They're in our assessment appeal board manual. So it's not going to take a lot, but it will require some effort as far as staffing. Very grateful and very supportive of Mr. Parker's offer to go through and highlight the different rules that he viewed will be beneficial for county council. And based on his workload, once he has that outline training available, I will work with my legal team and look at it and just make sure that it's in line with what we've already have available. But this is a step in the right direction. But I'm always concerned about staffing and staff capacity. And when I saw what he was talking about, my staff told me they with at the time frame that we were first looking at, they didn't have the capacity to turn it around in 30 days. But it now seems like this is going to be it's going to take Mr. Parker some time. So then once he does his, then we would look at it, we will review it, we will work and getting it back on our calendar for the board to review. So it's feasible.
Thank you, Executive Director Stowers. I appreciate the passion and rolling up your sleeves and getting ready to get to work on this issue. Chair Vasquez, I applaud the work you are doing in county council training, and I appreciate Mr. Parker coming in on this issue. Since Controller Cohen's tenure as chair, the Controller is working with Second District assessors and will be presenting a comprehensive county council training proposal as well as an initiative that may provide legal counsel support to our county assessors. I look forward to putting this on the agenda at a future date. I'll be sure to keep the chair's office in the loop. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Just a side note, there's no statute that require us to provide training to county council. So if that's the direction that we're going to look for, is to provide them mandate training for them, then we need legislation and we need staffing. If that's the direction of desire of the board and the counties.
Question through the chair.
Yes, Member Gaines.
Just in terms of clarity on that particular statement. So what exactly are we providing? What is our commitment?
Our commitment right now is not to county council at all. We are mandated by, and I don't have the statute in front of me, but we are mandated by, well, new members to the Assessment Appeal Board, they are required to go through training.
Okay,
And the training goes over rules and procedures. And they can take the training that we provide, and it's a self-study course. And it's basically going through our Assessment Appeals Manual and all of the rules that Mr. Parker is talking about. That manual itself is online, it's about 500 pages. And then we have some questions, test questions that you can answer. And you get a pass or fail grade. But they're not mandated to take our training. Their county can send them to another type of training.
okay.
And then they should have training, and they should do the training course before they sit on their appeals board. But it's the clerk of the board, of the supervisor of the county, that regulates whether or not they completed their training. We, the Board of Equalization, we do not have any oversight over county council. They are independent of us. So we have to be really clear and careful about what we're saying. And that's why Mr. Parker said he's volunteering to do it, but they're not really committing that they're going to have their county council go through it. It will just be another tool in their toolkit when they're advising their board members, just like your staff and their tools in their toolkit when they're advising you.
So we're providing advice for a training program that will be administered by county councils? Are we helping them with
Yeah,
their,
we're helping.
with their
yes,
curriculum?
With their
or-
curriculum. We will look at what they have. We'll confirm that what Mr. Parker is saying is in line with our property tax rules, our procedure rules. We have rules on how to conduct an assessment appeal hearing.
Okay.
We have rules on evidence. We have rules on, third-party information.
Okay.
So we would look and make sure that what Mr. Parker is saying is correct based on our existing rules.
Okay. Is there any way that we can, at some point, take a look at that workbook? You said it's a self-study program?
It's a self-study. It's our book.
Yeah.
The last time we updated that manual was in 2015.
Okay.
And what we've done since then, when we have a change in a property tax rule, we just annotate it within the manual. So you could be reading, and we recently changed, I'm going to go with property tax rule 305. And so instead of having a whole new chapter on 305, where we talk about it, we annotate it, and you link, and you can read 305.
Okay.
And, Mr. Young? Am I accurate on this, please? Okay, good. Okay.
So I'm just trying to figure out, in terms of county council, are they, because a 500-page workbook, I mean, that's a lot of work for someone who's volunteering to serve on an assessment appeals board, if I'm understanding this clearly. So are the county council coming up with something that is more streamlined and a little quicker process?
I think so. When I saw Mr. Parker's outline, it was still very intense.
Okay.
But the fact that he is just talking about property tax rule 301 to 326, and there's some pretty heavy rules.
Okay.
But Mr. Parker realized the importance of those rules, and he's willing to make them more accessible
Okay.
to his colleagues.
In his curriculum that they're
Yeah.
developing? Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Vice Chair, Ms. Lieber.
Now, are the rules 301 to 326 already included in the training that's for the individuals who are joining an AAB?
Yes, they are already part of our material. Mr. Young?
Yes, that is correct. Our materials are set up around our assessment appeals manual. It's available online. It's not quite 500 pages, but it is a lengthy volume of writing and guidance.
And so would this be basically opening up that training for members of county council, or would it be creating an entirely new track? I'm more accustomed to, you know, when there are individual topics, it's, I guess, the Bar Association or someone who creates those, and you see that you can get continuing legal education points for attending various things. And so this would be an entirely new process.
I don't presume to speak for Mr. Parker, but the material that, the outline that he's at least floated to us earlier, it focuses mainly on just those rules, and those rules are a part of already existing training, so, so there is a little bit of a parallel there.
Yeah. In which they are welcome to utilize.
Okay.
Chairman Vasquez, Vice Chair Lieber, members of the board, to provide a little more information to Vice Chair Lieber on your question. We, the BoE, are not a state bar authorized MCLE provider. So if we were to give courses, the county councils would not get MCLE or continuing legal education credit for that, which is why in my discussions with Mr. Parker, I suggested that if, obviously that's a big incentive to county councils to get their mandatory continuing legal education, it would have to be a course that was given by the County Councils Association or sponsored by a certified MCLE provider. That being said, we could assist potentially on teaching those courses, but that discussion has not occurred. So one of the things that's an open question is, once these materials are developed, who actually is going to be teaching these courses?
And if I may follow
Sure,
on
go
with
ahead.
another question. So what's being envisioned in our agenda today is that this would get bounced back on us to make a decision about the curriculum in March. So,
I think not. I think what's being envisioned now, and excuse me, sir, if I'm speaking out of turn, right now, we're now saying Mr. Parker would go ahead and design the training material. He would present it to us, we will review it for correctness, and then we would put it back on our calendar for the board's members to review and approve.
And we would also include the stakeholders, because we had a pretty lengthy discussion about this about a little over a year ago.
Right, I mean.
Because right now, he's acting really as an individual.
He's acting as an individual, so you want to have,
Make sure
I'm
you
not
have
sure,
all
when you say
people on
stakeholders, are
board.
you talking all county council, are you talking assessors, are you talking tax consultants and agents?
Well, I think the folks that we had, remember when we did the hearing, I think it was a little over a year ago, and this is where it kind of grew out of. And I think we need, just to be transparent, I think we need to get back, because they might come up with, they might be tweaking this or saying, wait a minute, this is going too far or whatever.
So are you talking about reconvening a work group?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're talking, it's some time here
Yeah.
involved.
Yeah, I mean, that seems to be the best way.
Right?
Is
That's what I was envisioning.
Let's get the material, as a board member, you guys can reconvene. It was called, that time, I think it was called the remote hearing work group.
I believe so.
But you may want to
Change
consider
that.
something else. It's your call. And from there, we can engage the public. But I think I've said enough.
Nice. Yeah, you're right, because I think when we first received this document, I believe it was somebody, I don't know if it was the legal department or something, they looked at it and they said, it was probably about 500 pages at that point. And now I think he realized that he's kind of zeroed in on these three areas now. And that still might be a bit of a task.
Yeah, Chairman Vasquez, I
Yes.
think suffice it to say at this point, from what I understand, the ball is in Mr. Parker's court.
Yes.
Excuse me.
And if there's a consensus up here, I was going to just propose that maybe we could move it and officially put it back to him to produce this document. Then it would come back to staff and ourselves And then if we think it's something that's reasonable and doable, I would suggest that we then go back to our stakeholders that were part of that original discussion and see if there's a buy-in. And of course, you know, staff, you'd be weighing in terms of what the practicality of it, if this is something that's doable given your staff levels.
Definitely. We will
Yeah.
definitely weigh in and make sure that, you know, the rules 301 to 326, it's a lot. They're
Right.
extensive. So we will definitely weigh in and make sure that his interpretation is accurate. And I have all the confidence in Mr. Parker and his legal knowledge that it will be accurate. Stakeholders,
Yes. Yes,
If I
Vice
may,
Chair Lieber, go ahead.
I'd be very comfortable with that kind of stepwise approach where we say that we're, you know, appreciative of Mr. Parker putting his content together and his knowledge, and we can take a look at it, and then, you know, maybe come back to see if we're able to invest in the time in a full stakeholder process, or if the controller has a process and we can hear about that. So kind of take it as a stepwise situation. I'd be comfortable with being a new person up here and not having had the benefit of being at the hearing back, you know, a year ago. I think that would be a beneficial course of action.
Great.
okay, sounds like we got a two-pronged approach then.
So what,
Mr. Parker and Controller Cohen. And working
so am I
together.
hearing a motion that we allow him to draft, I guess his training course that then would be submitted to our legal and property tax departments for this future,
Let me
hearing?
state the
Or what we
motion, let me state the motion just so that we're not running afoul of any other rule that we have to work with.
please do so.
Let's, may I say that we allow Mr. Parker to draft the training material and submit to me, and I will direct your executive director to review it and develop a timeline on when it will be presented back to the board members for approval. And that way, that keeps us on track of what our mandates are.
So do we have, so is that, it sounds like Vice Chair Lieber is going to move that, and I will second that. And if there's no other comments or questions, I guess we officially could take a, do we need to go out to the public first? Or
Yes,
could-
we do.
Let's go see, because there might be people listening on this one.
Don't have anybody in the audience, and I have no public comments on this, so we're going to go to the AT&T moderator. AT&T moderator, please let us know if there's anyone on the line who'd like to make a public comment regarding this item.
Folks on the phone, to comment on this item, press 10 at this time, please. And none of the callers have queued up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Then with that, why don't we go ahead and take a roll call vote on this?
Sure.
Mr. Chickadee?
Chair Vasquez,
Aye?
Vice Chair Lieber,
Aye.
Member Gaines,
Aye?
Member Schaefer,
Aye.
Deputy Controller Emron.
Aye.
So that's unanimous, so then it'll come back to staff, and then you'll present it to us.
Yes.
Thank you, folks. And with that, Ms. Chickadee, if you would call our next item.
Next item on the agenda is L2, Board Member Initiatives. L2B, Proposal to reconvene Property Tax Workforce Planning Board Work Group. Establish a schedule to reconvene the Workforce Planning Work Group with the California Assessors Association and county assessors from large, medium, and small counties to continue efforts to develop educational opportunities, recruitment and training solutions for county assessors' offices and the BoE in building a pipeline of skilled talent needed now and in future years.
Thank you. With that, I know we have a speaker here. Should we take them up first? And this is our, it's actually Member Gaines. You want to introduce your assessor here?
Yeah, so I just wanted to introduce John DeVille, who is our new county assessor in El Dorado County, and I appreciate his willingness to come forward and speak on this issue in reference to the Workforce Planning Work Group. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Welcome.
Chair Vasquez and other honorable members of the board. For the record, my name is John DeVille. I'm the El Dorado County Assessor. I'm here to speak in support of the Workforce Work Group initiative. Like many other assessors' offices throughout the state, El Dorado County faces challenges with recruiting, retention, training, and staying competitive in regards to salary compensation. El Dorado County is a small to mid-sized county, the rural value of roughly 40 billion, and we're considered a rural county. We've had a number of recent retirements, lost staff to other counties, and have had staff leave property tax administration altogether. Recruiting qualified staff has been difficult, like many other assessors' offices throughout the state. Not being able to effectively replace experienced staff that had years of institutional knowledge impacts our ability to conduct fair and accurate assessments efficiently. Putting the workforce work group into action and successfully meeting the objectives of the program could strongly benefit assessors' offices throughout the state and will put us in a better place to fairly and accurately assess property and serve the public. Here's what El Dorado County and many other small counties don't have right now. We don't have a comprehensive training program for new appraisers and auditor appraisers. I estimate it takes roughly 80 to 160 hours of intense training to get a new appraiser ready to conduct an appraisal on their own. And like other larger counties, small counties don't have dedicated training staff. We have to pull our senior appraisers or our supervising appraiser to train the staff, and that causes delays. And I think a training solution that we could share as a resource throughout the state, where assessors' offices could train staff through this solution, I think we could save time training folks, and then we could keep those people that are doing the training and causing delays on their desk. Secondly, we don't have a viable pool of qualified appraisers that we can recruit from. In our South Lake Tahoe office, it took over 5 months to fill a vacancy for an appraiser, and luckily that person liked skiing, and he was willing to move up to South Lake Tahoe, or else we probably couldn't, we'd still have a vacancy up there. So being able to work with the California community colleges to develop a program where we could broaden our pool to recruit from, I think would be very helpful. And then lastly, having competitive salaries that we can offer to employees, I think is really important. We lose staff to other counties. The appraiser 1 classification in El Dorado County is 9% behind Placer County. That causes struggles. Sac County has many classifications that were behind as well. So if the workforce work group could work on making salaries more competitive, providing information to us assessors to go back to their boards to raise salaries, I think it would be important. I think the workforce group is something that should be supported, and I welcome any pathways that would assist assessors' offices with the recruiting, retaining staff, training, and making salaries more competitive for property tax professionals.
Thank you. Let me just kind of bring us back, because as I was looking to to my right, our Vice Chair Lieber wasn't part of this discussion earlier, so I'm going to just kind of refresh and go back to what some of the discussions we had. I guess it was well, it's actually, I want to say it was about 2 years ago when we first started this thing. And it's, for those that were involved with it, sorry about the repetitiveness here, but just to bring up our Vice Chair, you know, when we started this discussion, it was sometime, like I said, I think it was in October, I think, of 2020. And we identified this problem, which, and it varies between the rural and then, of course, the urban counties. And Member Gaines and myself, we were trying to get this program going with some of the community colleges, and that was a bit of a challenge. And so we are still working with possibly a pilot program that could happen out of LA. And one of our next speaker will probably address that, Jeff Prang in LA, because there seems to be an appetite, at least there. And I know up here, which you just mentioned, it's kind of difficult to attract folks in some of the rural areas, and that's what we're up against. But I think if there's the appetite and the willingness from this board, I think we might want to reconvene that group and continue this conversation. And even if it, like I said, goes back to a pilot, in the pilot form in one of the urban counties, and then hopefully then take it into the rural areas and see if there's a way that we could somehow attract or entice folks to get involved in some of these more ag counties, because the problem doesn't seem to be going away. It's actually getting worse, I'm hearing. And in the larger counties, it's really bad, as you'll hear a little bit later from my assessor in LA. So I'm thinking that, and I don't know if it's being a little too aggressive, and I'm looking at Ms. Stowers here, that maybe if we could try to bring this, I don't know if we could bring it back in March or April. I'm just thinking of in terms of our timetable here and our workload here.
Thank you, Chair Vasquez. I think if you're going to reconvene your work group, and you want to have your large, medium, and small counties involved, we need to reach out to them and consider their calendar
Right.
and their schedule, because they are working
They're on deadline, I'm
they're
sure,
working
right
on
now, yeah.
closing the road right now.
Yeah.
So, not sure of their availability. I also would like, if I may, I know,
Yes.
is Assessor Prang going to speak, or?
Is he in the queue or is he coming up? I think he's coming up next, but
Okay.
I'm not sure. Well, right now, I don't know what time.
There he is.
Oh, there he is. Okay.
I'm here.
You know what? Let me let you go ahead, because you were part of our original discussions, and I know we've had some conversations with you and the community college, LA community colleges. And if you could just kind of give us an update, if there is an update, and even if it isn't an update, just kind of bring us up to speed, because we do have a new member here, our Vice Chair Lieber, who wasn't part of that discussion or didn't have the opportunity to participate. It was back in 2020.
I'll give you a very quick overview, just
Thanks.
refresh the new member. LA County is the largest assessment agency in the United States. We have about 2.5 million parcels and business assessments, which last year were valued at just under $2 trillion. We are the only county in California which has its own comprehensive and fully developed training program. It is roughly a 5 to 6 month classroom training program, as well as another 6 months of field training, and this is all done in a classroom setting. In a typical year, we would lose anywhere between 25 to 35 appraisers due to attrition, primarily through retirement. Historically, we could reasonably manage 1 or 2 classes of appraiser trainees of around 30 students each. So if we just did 1 class a year, we were barely keeping up with our attrition. We started to seek other solutions to try to recruit, onboard, and train new appraisers, primarily due to what could have been a crisis back in 2020, when there's a ballot measure that would have required us to nearly double the number of our appraisers had that measure passed, and it was virtually impossible for us to do that in-house. And we thought that a reasonable strategy would be to work with local colleges to move some of the training out of the government and into the community colleges. We decided after that ballot measure failed that this was still a prudent approach.
Here he is.
Throughout Los Angeles County, particularly the Los Angeles Community College District. And we have 2 programs initiated and 1 underway. The primary program is dealing with appraiser trainees. Right now, we are hiring our appraisers, but we are moving them to West Los Angeles College to do a couple of the approaches to value for these students. Long-term, our hope is that the community college will be able to provide training to anybody who wants to take it. That training will meet with our standards, and our standards are vetted by the Board of Equalization. So theoretically, somebody could take the appropriate classes at West LA College, and when they're done, they should be able to sit for the final examination and then be able to be certified as a real estate appraiser by the Board of Equalization. That's one program. We also are expanding a position within our department called Appraiser Assistant. This one requires 2 years of education instead of 4 years. We are working with Rio Hondo College, and they are providing training to prospective appraiser assistants. The people who go through that program do not have assurance of a job at the end. Hopefully, we're going to have more people that we can draw from than there will be positions available. And then there's a third position in our department called ownership technician. These are people who read deeds and building permits to determine whether a reassessable event has occurred. And we're getting ready to they also go through a year-long training program, and we're looking to initiate a program with Mount San Antonio College to train ownership technicians. I invited onto this call today Dara Smith, who's the Director of Operations, as well as Jackie Irwin, who is our Chief Appraiser for our training unit, should you have some questions that exceed my personal knowledge and expertise. But that's, so far, we've right now putting our second class of appraisers through the program at West LA College, as well as a second cohort through Rio Hondo. So thus far, it's been very successful, and we are looking to expand this program.
Thank you, Assessor Prang. From a large county perspective, what is your greatest challenge, you think, moving forward now?
So from a large county perspective, the time it takes, and I'm sure that you experience this well at the state level, but it takes about 9 months to recruit, vet, onboard, and to get a new employee started. So as fast as we're working to bring in new employees, people are leaving, retiring. So it's kind of one step forward, one step back. Hopefully, this community college program will help us to have a pool of pre-trained applicants that will ensure that we can fill those vacancies faster and reduce the amount of time that we have to train them.
Thank you. Member Gaines, do we have any questions?
Thank you very much. I was just remembering when I met you, Assessor Prang, and down in LA, and you gave me an overview. I think this is around 2019 or so, after I was elected, but you gave an overview of your operation, which was very impressive. But you spoke then of the challenges that you were having with getting enough staffing, and then of course we had the pandemic, which created all sorts of challenges. So I'm really happy that the issue is coming back forward today. But there were discussions even up here with trying to have that curriculum that you're discussing, describing here available through the Los Rios Community College District. We also spoke to Sierra College at the time. And so it'd be nice if we could continue those discussions, because you've rolled it out in LA, and I think it's a great template. I know that we had discussed this in earlier meetings. So Happy that this is coming forward. I did have a question for you in reference to a private sector appraiser. With the real estate market slowing down, which is, unfortunate in terms of jobs for folks, but does that present an opportunity for private sector appraisers to help fill some of your positions?
I don't think so, and forgive me, I can't cite any evidence right now, but I have read that private industry appraisers, that field is also struggling, and that they've had a significant reduction in the number of appraisers that are going into that field. There is a difference in how government appraisers do their job for enrolling property on the tax rolls to how a private appraiser does it. They're not necessarily trained the same way. It would be that would be a difficult transition, and frankly, I don't believe there are sufficient numbers of private appraisers to even if we could come into some type of program. I don't think there's enough of them to do the job.
Yeah, okay. Would the training period be any shorter for someone that was a private sector appraiser, or would they just have to start over?
It depends on the standards of the individual agency. For us, we do have people who apply for jobs in our office who have experience as a private industry appraiser, but we put them through the same exact training as though that they have no experience.
Yeah, okay. All right.
They have to learn our systems. They have to learn how we do things. One thing I did neglect to say during my presentation, though, is that this program that we're creating, right now all of our appraisers, trainees are going through these programs online. So this is the programs we're establishing are eventually probably programs that could be accessed by other counties.
Wonderful. That's great. And I think we could, if we can look at the model in terms of opportunities through the community college system, each of us in our districts could have this curriculum taught that would help provide more staffing for county assessors and maybe even the BoE. So, yeah, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Members, yes, Deputy Controller, go ahead.
Thank you, Assessor Prang, Assessor DeVille. Appreciate your time and coming on to this forum to address these issues. Recruitment and retention, training and continuing education, and compensation are issues which continue to dominate conversations regarding property tax administration needs. This is true at the BoE and also at local county assessors' offices. These items were first brought to light at the California Assessors Association Conference and at the BoE's San Diego hearing on modernizing the property tax system, as well as meeting with county assessors in their offices. The BoE has a role in providing training and continuing education. County assessors have requested that there needs to be more training available and noted the need to review. We embarked upon this work by creating a workforce planning work group that the chairman has noted, focused on the following items: conducting a staff classification analysis and compensation survey of those positions most impacted by recruitment, retention, and retirement challenges, developing a robust training and professional development program, creating a role for board members to engage with the legislator, colleges, universities, and others to develop strategies to ensure California's property tax systems remain a priority with commitments to invest in its workforce. Fast forward to 2023, the Second District assessors believe there's still a need to continue this work and develop a comprehensive training initiative. Second District assessors also pointed out the need to review minimum qualifications for appraisers set by the BoE and determine whether alternative options should exist for meeting the minimum qualifications. I passed out this memorandum to the board members and to the executive director, which includes a charge document, and this charge document clearly delineated the workforce development challenges expressed by our stakeholders. At our September 2019 information hearing on modernization in California property tax systems, these same issues and challenges were further confirmed at our property tax workforce planning work group meeting in September of 2020. So prior to reconvening the work group, I strongly encourage us to consider directing the executive director to conduct the survey referenced in the charge document By doing so, it will provide the foundational information needed to complete the important work the board set out to accomplish in this area. And that survey will include reviewing and examining information and data from local county assessors on their workforce capacity needs. I'm asking for data on the following items: recruitment needs in local county assessors' offices for entry-level, mid-level, and senior staff. Retention numbers, for example, the number of staff who have retired or left the offices for the private sector. Compensation information focusing on entry-level, mid-level, and senior staff, especially appraisers, to address the following. Number one, compensation for those most likely to be recruited as new employees. Compensation for mid-career professionals most likely to be recruited to other governmental offices or the private sector. Number three, compensation for staff within 5 years of discretionary retirement age. Office training and program needs, including initial training and continuing education for professionals working on appraisals. Budgetary constraints which impact addressing identified workforce challenges. Existing backlogs in appraisal, changes in ownership, or assessment appeals, and the number of staff required to reduce or eliminate these backlogs, and innovative strategies being employed to proactively address these issues. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
May I speak from the agency's perspective?
Yes, I'd love to hear it.
Okay. First of all, Assessor, your issues are our issues. Recruitment, retention, training. We've done an excellent job in filling our vacancies, but we're now at the point where we're training them and we're getting them up to speed. And it is about a year plan. We can hire more and more appraisers, and Mr. Young will tell me that I can't take anymore. I need to develop what I have first. So it takes time. With respect to compensation, unfortunately, we can't speak to your budget, but I can talk about the state. And good news, bad news. We are having a downturn. And what that means for state employers is that people like fee appraisers will be looking for work because they want more stability. So we're seeing an increase in people wanting to come work for the state. So that's the good news, bad news. Good news, can we get them all trained? I don't know. Can we keep them in 5 years? We certainly hope so. We are doing a study, because we talked about this, I believe it was in 2019 or 2020, when Prop 15 was pending. So everybody realized that we needed to increase our workforce and grow our own. And although the work group stopped, we at an agency, we continued. So we have done things like we have increased our recruitment. We spend a lot of time at the college campuses, whether they're the junior colleges or the four-year. And we're letting people know, those with degrees in economics, those with degrees with accounting, those with degrees in English. We let them know what a great opportunity they can have by coming over to the BoE. And we will take them on and we will train them in the appraisal field. We try to have more of courses done through the community colleges, but unfortunately, the community colleges are telling us this is just not a field where people want to pursue. We can do all we can. Trust me, I tried. I told a lot of young people, don't get your broker's license, do appraisal instead. But they go a different direction. So we are working, and we have made a lot of progress. I just want to make that clear. We fill our vacancies. We have a succession plan. We do partner with our community colleges and our state colleges. We are doing a classification study because, and for us as an agency, we have a problem with our salaries and our different positions. So we're still, and that study should be done really, really soon. And we have increased the number of courses that we teach, which we are mandated to do, that we provide to the assessors and our staff. As you guys know, we now have 30. That's a major increase. And then as far as the charging document, Deputy Controller, we tried this survey during the work group. And it's really up to the assessors to respond to some of those questions because it's a volunteer survey. And when we did that survey, we get very little participation. So I don't know how useful it would be to ask them again, but if that's the desire of the board, we will. But I would think that we might just want to reconvene the work group and and start fresh, get a better understanding of where everybody is at and the needs of everyone, and go from there. And besides, we got 12 new assessors
Yes.
and a new member.
No, that was going to be my motion. Well, I'm sorry, go ahead, Vice Chair Lieber.
Thank you, Chair. And in the conversations with the community colleges, that would also be my first impulse, because I think that they have the ability to reach out to a lot of audience who are career-oriented, and they're looking for what the pathways and the opportunities are. But would you also be looking at other partnership opportunities? I know that many people are going to the online educational resources that are out there, and I know that the community colleges are kind of charged with doing everything for everyone all the time for as long as it takes, but I'm wondering if there are other partnership opportunities that could be fruitful as well.
That's a good question, ma'am, and probably so. There's a lot of online training, a lot of online vocational training, new career, you could already have a degree in something, but you want to try something different. So yeah, online is an excellent way of looking at it, to expand our outreach.
Well, I just think that this is a critically important issue, and getting that supply in is a huge challenge. So whatever ways we can make that happen and amplify that from where we are, and I commend the controller for all of her efforts over the past couple of years to get this started, and it sounds like it really got interrupted along with everything else by COVID. And the chair and Mr. Gaines for bringing this back up to us. I do think it's really critically important for the urban counties, as Mr. Prang represents. I think the issue is oftentimes the cost of housing for people who are getting into the career, and then for the rural counties, it's really how to train individuals that are already there, or people who can see themselves living there. And, but I think the supply issue is critically important.
Thank you. And I was just looking over, and I think you just hit it on the nail, Ms. Stowers. I think it's probably appropriate to, if there's the appetite, and it sounds like there is, maybe to move this and to let's reconvene the group, because there's been, I think you said 12 new assessors statewide, and then we have a new member plus our new deputy controller here working with us, and kind of let's reassess the position and take a look at what's been going on. I know with my assessor, Jeff Prang, and then Member Gaines reminded me that he also had a pilot, I believe, is in one of the community colleges in your district, right?
Well, we were talking to them. I
We
know
were
you were
talking to
talking to the chancellor of community colleges, so my hope would be that we could fire that discussion up and
Bring it
talk
back.
to each member and see if we can identify a community college within our districts that would then kind of be the next step for implementation statewide.
So let me take a stab at this. Let's see.
I,
Oh, I'm sorry, Controller.
Chairman,
Yes,
thank you.
Deputy
I just wanted to respond to your comments about the survey. The controller or our office never received any copy of a survey, even if there was minimal returns. I do believe that collecting information and data points would be beneficial to this board and the controller's office in collecting data and having a best approach rather than just jumping into it head first. I do understand that the work group was paused by the pandemic and the split role that came about, but it would be best to release that survey, have this participation. The controllers are willing to work with the California Assessors Association. This information is critical to collect that data and then reconvene that work group at the appropriate time.
Well, thank you, sir. The survey was presented to the entire board verbally when the assessors reported out on those questions. They came before this body. So I can pull up the minutes if you like, but they did report out individually on those data points. But with that being said, seems like everyone would like to reconvene the work group, which I think is the best approach. And I'll remind you of your work group charter, which I've been up here all day. Mr. Nanjo, if you could kind of walk us through the work group charter and what it takes to start again?
Thank you, Executive Director Stowers. So again, reminding the board members, and I'm doing this from memory, so please give me a little bit of flexibility here, but essentially the work group charter requires that a charter be produced as to what the goals of the work group are. Thank you. There we go. So again, to produce a charter that basically describes what its duties are, what it's charged to do, and the work group policy also will set forth policies to make sure that the work group structure is consistent with the board's constitutional and statutory responsibilities, guide the board in establishing the work group, identify a chair for the work group, and who will participate in the work group, whether it's one or two members or the full board. In addition, the board member will, or chair will state the specific purpose, who will serve on the work group, as I said, and then once approved by the board, each board member will serve as a full member and participant of the work group. The work group chair and co-chair shall perform these duties only to conduct and carry out the assigned purpose of the work group, and shall not interfere or assume the role of the board chair or vice chair. The work group chair and co-chair shall establish the work group meeting plan, agenda, supporting materials, and the list of and invitations to those invited or scheduled presenters and participants, the location and facility, and also be in charge of preparing the meeting minutes. The chair of the board or designated team member will review the meeting plan for the the chair of the board and the executive director or designated team member will review the meeting plan for legal and technical purposes and transmit it to board proceedings as appropriate. The work group chair and co-chair are responsible for conducting the work group meeting and drafting the work group reports so that the information is available to the full board and to the public at a regularly date-specific board meeting. There are also notice requirements for the work group meeting that essentially it will comply with the public agenda notice and Bagley-Keene Open Meetings Act. And again, this information is found in the board's governance policy. This was added in item H. I think actually it was you, Chair Vasquez, who added in this section, which is the board work group policy and charter.
But I think.
But aren't we just continuing this work group, right? We already have it going, no?
Well, semantics. We did stop the work group, but I do believe that the memo that you have attached to the PAN is sufficient because you lay out the purpose of the group.
I was hoping we could just,
So, that being said, I think you laid out the purpose of the group. And if you want to, if you're saying you're just going to reconvene, are you saying that yourself and Member Gaines
Member
will
Gaines, yeah.
be the co-chairs?
So along those lines, if you're reconvening the work group, that's fine. Those things have been completed. You would still need a work group meeting plan, agenda, supporting material, list of invitations, those things. So those are the kind of items moving forward. Also, list of available dates and what have you. And as the board may remember, the original concept of the work group is the board work group is primarily handling it using the board members' own staff.
yes.
So.
So I'm comfortable, and I'm
Yes.
seeing nods from my member Gaines, just to continue what we started, and maybe we just get together with our executive director in terms of the scheduling, because I don't know if it's something we could do, like in March or April. It might have to be out, we might be looking at maybe more of an April, adding a date to our meeting, right?
I
Because March looks like it's already impacted. no?
March is pretty busy. I would probably say April or May. I think one of the first steps that
Just add a day.
we need to speak with the assessors, because I'm assuming you want
Yes,
representation on this work group. You want
Yes.
them to come and speak. So I think that's the first step is to get an idea with the assessors in your district. And I believe you had that in your memo.
we did.
To have a discussion with your assessors on their availability. I would gladly reach out to the president of the CAA. She's not here today, but they are listening and get an idea of what their thoughts on it.
So
great.
let me take a stab at it. What if I move that we approve this proposal, basically, to reconvene our workforce planning group, and I had originally listed March, maybe I'll say April now, probably be more realistic,
For the second day of the April board meeting.
second day of the April meeting. Second day of the,
Chairman, can I make
second
a
it.
comment before the motion moves, please?
yes, go ahead.
I'm all for the work group. I do believe, however, there needs to be more outreach and data input as we reconvene. And I'll be looking forward to working with the chairman and the executive director to kind of get that data and outreach going, so we can really, this time around, be able to fully implement this work group and get the most out of it. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Okay. And I got a second here from Member Gaines. So do we need to go out to
The
AT&T?
AT&T moderator, yes. We have no one in the audience who wanted to make a comment, and we have nothing in writing. AT&T moderator, can you please tell us if there's anyone on the line who'd like to make a public comment regarding this item?
Ladies and gentlemen on the phone, to comment by phone, please press 10 at this time on your phone's keypad. And we have no respondents in queue.
Thank you. Going to call the roll.
Yes,
Chair
please.
Vasquez,
Aye.
Vice Chair Lieber.
Aye.
Member Gaines.
Aye.
Member Schaefer,
Aye?
Deputy Controller Emron.
Aye.
Thank you. And with that, I think that concludes this. And I guess I don't see my assessor pranks. Yeah, it looks like he lost connection here.
Yeah.
And thank you.
Yes, thank you, John
Coming
DeVille.
out,
Appreciate your,
opportunity.
sharing your thoughts.
appreciate your
And
support.
looking forward to
Thank
working
you.
with you
Got
on
one more.
this.
Definitely.
Ready for the
Ms.
next
Cicchetti,
item?
let's go on to the next
Let's
item.
go on, yep. The next item is L2, Board Member Initiatives. Item L2C, Proposal to Reconvene Property Tax Abatement Board Work Group on Affordable Housing. Develop a schedule for continuing the Property Tax Abatement Board Work Group, specifically to drill down with county assessors, city and county housing agencies, and stakeholders to identify gaps and develop recommendations for practical ways to streamline the welfare exemption processes, both at the state and local levels, as a means of accelerating critically needed low-income housing.
Thank you. Members, this proposal is to continue the property tax abatement work group hearings, tentatively starting on March 24th, 2023, but if not, then in April 25th, to invite speakers and develop recommendations specifically on streamlining the BoE and the county assessor's welfare exemption approval process for low-income housing. This is not designed to overstep the issues that will be addressed in the future work group report when the deputy controller informs us that the report is ready for distribution and discussion. We will also schedule a hearing for that purpose. I am proposing now to schedule a work group hearing specifically to address streamlining efforts of BoE and the county assessors. The Property Tax Department, under Mr. Young's direction, developed a streamlining plan for the BoE, and much has been done. I think now is the time to collaborate closely with the assessors, our co-administrators, as well as our property owners, who often misunderstand the law and the required steps. One testimony after another during the July, August, and September hearings, including testimony from past mayor of Los Angeles, Mr. Garcetti, and speakers from New York City, emphasize that the exemption is a critical factor that makes this project financially feasible, and that streamlining our processes for all is the best thing we could do to incentivize low-income housing projects. The new mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass, in her directive of the December 12, 2022, is taking aggressive steps to accelerate the lower the cost of building affordable housing and shelters by requiring city departments to cease processing bottlenecks and complete all reviews within 60 days, with the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors partnering in this joint effort. Many legislators are also concerned about the application of welfare and low-income housing property, with 7 to 9 of the 13 property tax bills related to it. Before Ms. Cicchetti introduces our next speaker to discuss the need for streamlining approvals for low-income housing, I would like to ask our Deputy Controller, who's sitting next to me here, if he would like to add add any comments that maybe our controller might have shared with them.
Thank you, Chair Vasquez, for the presentation and your proposed action. However, I am recommending that Controller Cohen continue to lead this work in partnership with you. As you are aware, Controller Cohen indicated at the last board meeting, when she addressed this board, that she believes she remains committed to continuing the property tax abatement work group convenings that she initiated. Chairman, I believe she also did have this discussion with you personally. In fact, as previously reported to the board, and I recently discussed with your team, it is her intention to convene the next property tax abatement work group meeting in March or April of 2023. At that time, we will release the report, as discussed, with your team. That is more than appropriate to follow up on the recommendations highlighted in the report, specifically the recommendation of Los Angeles outgoing Mayor Mary Garcetti, and the many others during the property tax abatement work group meetings related to streamlining welfare exemption process. The controller believes it is a perfect time to receive an update from the agency on the impact of the process improvement process engaged it by the agency on their welfare exemption process. If you recall, Controller Cohen joined you in asking the agency to review their current process with the intent to streamline the time frame for which exemptions are completed. Respectfully, Chair Vasquez and members on this board, I believe it is only appropriate to support Controller Cohen's continued leadership in this area. And to the chairman, we will continue to work with your office. In fact, I reached out to your team and calendared a standing meeting on this issue through June of 2023. And it is a request of the controller, and I would appreciate seeing this through. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Cicchetti, is Jeff Pranks still on the line?
He is no longer on the line at this time, no? He has
Okay.
left the team's call.
Because I see he wanted to weigh in on this, but if he's no longer on it, and it sounds
came
like,
back.
I'm sorry.
She's going to try to get him back.
I was hearing some back. Oh, is he back?
She's calling me.
I'm trying
Oh,
to,
okay.
I'm asking my staff who is monitoring the webpage.
May I say something?
He has not returned.
Yes, go ahead while we're waiting.
Great.
Miss-
With respect to the welfare exemption and
Yes.
the part that we administer, Mr. Amaron is absolutely right. We did improve that process. It took us a year and a half. We reported it out on a monthly basis, and we looked at the application, the claims, and the forms, our website, our instructions, and it resulted in improvement of having that, our part of the job done by 300%. And I'm sorry, all the notes I had with me today, that I don't have in front of me. But you may recall, it was that last time we reported, it was in October of 2022, when Ms. Lumsden was here. And she said, this is, we've done all that we can at this time. And it was substantial. So I just want to make that clear that we did spend a lot of time on that. But, you know, we can only approve the organization. It's the assessor that approves the use of the property.
Thank you. Member Gaines, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment because I know as a board member, that was an issue that seemed to come up on a fairly consistent basis with constituents who are trying to get welfare exemption applications processed. And you had been giving us monthly updates, and I know that changes have been made, and maybe we need a little more time to reflect on that and see if it's working. I don't think I've had a complaint since the changes are made. So that's encouraging.
Good news.
But I think that's something we need to keep an eye on. So, thank you.
I think we even changed our, or we're having a fact sheet is pending at your request, Chair Vasquez.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And while we're waiting for my controller, I think Vice Chair Lieber, you had a question?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I am eager to see the report from the controller and to harvest her good work that comes in through that process. And I'd really like to see this body also continue with a work group within the BoE on a going forward basis. And so I wonder if to allow the time for her work to come out and be amplified, and for the other data points that are out there to come in, I wonder if it might be better to have the work group be, say, in June, to get the full benefit of that work that's already been started and done.
Can I respond, Chairman?
Sure, go ahead, Deputy Controller.
Thank you, Member Lieber. I'm in agreement with you. This work group took months and months to plan, alongside the work group actually being months and months of taking place. The report itself is very comprehensive. It has a very detailed recommendations and outlines of every stakeholder that participated and is taken into account. I'm looking forward to releasing that report and working with the chairman's office in getting this done. In regards to the welfare exemption process, I understand that you, Executive Director, have said that you've tried everything you can. It is still imperative to give us updates and this body updates on this process and what it looks like moving forward. Thank you.
We did update you guys. We update you monthly on the process. Monthly. I don't want to be defiant, but monthly they came up here and they gave an update on that project. And then reported out that it was now completed and went over each and every step that team did.
Oh, through the chair, if I could?
Yes.
Just because I
Member Gaines, go
think
ahead.
you're talking about moving forward. That's the way I interpreted that. Monthly updates from this date forward, is that what you're asking for?
You want a monthly update, you want us to tell you how many welfare exemptions we approved on a monthly basis?
What I want, and this body, when we were hearing the testimony from, for example, Los Angeles Mayor, outgoing Mayor Garcetti and others, they were talking about the streamlined process and needing guidance on, statewide guidance to each county assessor on how to better streamline that welfare exemption process. So it continues to be a work in progress. And I'm not going to tell you if you want to do it every month or not, but it's just something that this board should be continually updated on. It's something that we do as a priority, and it's something that remains a high-level priority to the Board of Equalization, especially when you're trying to address the affordable housing crisis we're facing here in California.
I get that. I think there might be some misunderstanding
I
on
think that's
how
what
the
it is.
welfare exemption process works. So if you want us to come back and provide additional overview education on welfare exemption, we'll gladly do it for you. But I think I know we've done it, and I know we made improvements into our process.
Oh, yeah, I would-
And I know that
I agree.
we're getting our work
Yeah.
done. Now, what happens on the back end, I can't speak to the assessors, but I don't think the assessors are telling us that they need instructions on how to determine if a piece of property qualifies for the welfare exemption.
Yeah, from my perspective, I just want to make sure that we're fulfilling our role as the BoE, because we don't control the assessors and that process, right? But I want to make sure we're getting our job done, and there's not a bottleneck in terms of moving an
Absolutely.
application through.
Absolutely. I
with
will
the
make sure
BoE.
that we're not the cause of the delay.
That's correct.
Yes.
Thank you.
And that's something I know we're not the cause, because that's something that's always on the surveys, with the assessment surveys that we do. If a assessor gives out the exemption and they haven't gotten the clearance from us first, that's a ding on their report. So.
Yeah, and that, through the chair, I'm sorry, but it could be that we get a call from a constituent, we have the BoE follow up on it, and there's a hiccup at the county.
Yes, absolutely. There's a hiccup on the county side.
So we need to make sure we differentiate between those.
And we do
Yeah.
help them when they call.
Yeah.
We say, well, what's missing on the county side? And the county will say,
Right.
whatever the reason why.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that we're perfect, but on our side, we made our improvements. And we will continue to make improvements.
Right, thank you.
And I see our legal attorney here wanted to weigh in here. Go ahead, Mr. Nenja.
Thank you, Chair Vasquez. If I can maybe assist a little bit in clarifying, Deputy Controller Emron, I think there might be a little bit of confusion because as Executive Director Stowers explained, there are two parts to the welfare exemption process. One is the part that BoE does, and the other part is the county's part that the assessor's office works with. We've made all the improvements that we can on our side of the fence. To the extent that there are challenges on the county side, that's where the board members can reach out to their county assessors and find out if there is something that we can do to assist them. But it is challenging and I think that was Executive Director Stower, yes, former Deputy Controller, current Executive Director Stower's point is that process, although we'd be glad to assist the assessors or the counties, is really a county process. So that's something they have to work through. I mean, you know, in an overly simplified manner, they could try to do the same effort that we, the BoE, did to try to improve the process, but it's not like we can help them because their process is a different issue than what we do. It's two sides of the same coin, if we will.
Thank you, Mr. Nanjo, for trying to clear this up. Simply just asking for a report out. I do believe that the Board of Equalization, with this streamlined process regarding the welfare exemption, is one of the most significant actions we can take to solve this housing crisis here in California. I believe it's 2.53 million homes by 2030, which we're far behind. So anything that we can do as this agency and on this board to get more information to the public and to our assessors and taxpayers would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think to the extent that Controller Cohen and the board members can reach out to the assessors and assist us in finding out if there's anything more we can do to assist them. That would be very helpful to us as well. Thank you.
Vice Chair, I think I saw a hand up here.
Thank you. I'll wade into this.
Why not?
Why not? So, it seems like if we revisited this, this in June, and it would be fortuitous to continue the property tax abatement work group, we could hear the report that the state controller has put the effort into preparing. And then perhaps we could also hear from others who are affordable housing providers about if they see certain legislative fixes that are needed to be able to facilitate this, because it really sounds like as an agency, the work has been done here to get the process, on track and to be benefiting the cause overall. But I wonder if that might be a way to do it, is to continue the work group and to have an item, say tentatively in June, to hear the results of the controller's work and to go forward from there.
I was going to suggest that. And this way it'll give me an opportunity to circle back with our deputy controller as well as the controller between now and then as well.
That would be appreciated. Thank you.
Could I
Not a
just
problem.
weigh in through the chair?
Yes, go ahead, Member Gaines.
Yeah, I really appreciate Member Lieber's suggestions and agree with them. And I think to the degree that they can be focused on the fix, how do we fix it, whether that's regulatory or legislatively, but we need to pinpoint that and then to address it and see if we can solve it. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll hold off on that until, looks like no earlier than June at this point. Because it sounds that's the time they're going to need for the report to be finalized. Is that correct, Deputy Controller?
Correct. The original goal is the first quarter of 2023. So I promise it's near completion. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Vice Chair Shaver, go ahead, Vice Chair.
do we need a motion to continue the
I believe we do.
work group and to tentatively bring back an item in June?
It sounds like you have one in your.
I'll move that.
Second,
It's been
please.
moved and second. Mr. Kenny, do we need to go out to AT&T?
Yes, we do. I have no one inside the auditorium who wants to make a public comment. I have nothing in writing as well on this item. I'm going to go to the AT&T moderator. AT&T moderator, please let us know if there's anyone on the line who'd like to make a public comment regarding this item.
All right, for people on the phone lines, if you wish to make a comment, please press 1, then 0. An operator will gather your name and give you further instructions. Again, for people on the phone lines, it's 1, then 0 at this time. And no one from the phone lines has queued up. Please go ahead.
Thank you. With that, let's go ahead and get a roll call.
Well,
Vote on this.
before we go forward, I just found out there is someone in the,
Oh, there is somebody?
Mr. Parrish has come
Oh,
forward.
yes.
Is
Come
this-
on up. I
is
know
this
he's
the
been
item?
patiently waiting here.
I didn't want to burn up my other time on my other issue, but I wanted to talk to this specifically to show you my observations.
Welcome,
Before
welcome.
we go
Introduce
forward-
yourself, because
Clark
everybody
Parrish,
knows
Orange
you as the
County
famous
Assessor.
assessor.
Can I go, before we go forward, making a public comment in the auditorium, you're limited to 3 minutes.
That's right.
I just wanted to make
I'll
sure.
I'll do it very fast.
It's okay.
The
No.
problem as I see it is that what happens is that the developers, they hire an attorney to help them. And so the attorneys, unfortunately, like to run the clock. Nobody wants to hear this, but it's God's honest truth. In my office, I'm concerned about people that are stressed, and I take calls from the public, even people that call me a gangster and a communist and whatever. I take calls from everybody, and what I hear is they're frustrated. So what I have done to solve the problem, well, first I'll tell you, I used to be an executive ABC. I own my own business. I was American City. I've been an assessor for 8 years, and I've asked employees, what is it that motivates you? You'll never guess what the answer is. More money. So what I do is I pay them overtime, which is 50% more to get these things done. As you know, I finish the role every time ahead of time. I've never asked for an extension ever. And I used to have 300 employees when I took over, and I now have, 256? So I pay overtime because employees are motivated by getting some money. So that's what you got to do to cure the problem. And the attorneys are causing the most problem by running the clock. That's my, and by the way, I love the executive director and her efforts, and she's done a tremendous job to speed things up. That's for darn sure. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you.
I understand.
Oh, we
And
have
I
what,
have
another?
yes, another speaker. Yes. You could, yes. Can you please?
Come on up.
Doesn't matter.
I think they're all live.
Oh, didn't look
No,
like
no,
that.
no,
No,
that's
no,
not live.
these
Yes,
ones
sit
sitting
down.
down, yeah.
Thank you.
That's the camera.
That's the camera. Go
Mr.
ahead.
Vasquez, thank you for receiving me as a public, and congratulations all on your new elections and your new term at the Board of Equalization. Appreciate it very much.
Identify yourself, please.
This is Paul Ballard this is Paul Ballard here, live in Sacramento, and I've spoken here 2 or 3 times on a particular issue out of Orange County and some other, the assessor's office regarding myself as a trustee, APN numbers, the loss of our parents' home, the transfer of the home. But the first thing I wanted to say is I heard you guys in discussion talk that you were going to potentially have the public comments at the beginning versus the end. And as a public person, both, that would be so much better for myself as a public, because then we could plan our days, freeing up then your days to end your sessions when you need to versus everybody sitting around. So I think it would be a very wise thing to do if you guys could agree on doing some kind of a change like that internally. The other aspect regarding my particular situation and the one affecting tens of thousands of people in Orange County and potentially hundreds of thousands of non-deed held properties in the state of California, I've been trying to work here now with Mike Schaefer's staff with a letter of request to the Orange County Assessor's Office, and that's where I'm at right now, is to come up with a letter asking for some certain documentation and clarification on instructions of publication of APNs. If you recall, one of the aspects is when I went down to actually pay taxes at the tax collector's office, you cannot, because they don't have the APN on this particular type of stock held home, is not available through the tax collector's office. And there's other aspects involved, and I know we're all busy, and I want to let you go, but I wanted to be able to come up here and say my piece. But I appreciate Mr. Schaefer and getting to work with his staff on this particular issue. It's very important for seniors and their heirs. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ketty, I think we have that motion. We
I
probably
do.
should
I
vote on
see
it
we have the
before,
motion.
because
We
it looks
have
like we're
no-
moving into public comment here.
All right. So we have no one else in the audience. We've already gone to the AT&T moderator, and I have nothing in writing. So I'm going to call the roll.
Please.
Chair Vasquez.
Aye.
Vice Chair Lieber.
Aye.
Member Gaines.
Aye.
Member Schaefer.
Aye.
Deputy Controller Emron.
Aye.
So that's unanimous. Now, Mr. Ketty, please call the next item.
The next item on our agenda is item N, public comment on matters not on the agenda. Persons who wish to address the State Board of Equalization regarding items not on the agenda may do so under this item on the agenda. Please note that the board cannot take action on items not on the agenda. However, the board can schedule issues raised by the public for consideration at future meetings. When giving your public comment, please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. The clerk will notify the chairman when the time has expired. So first, what we do, our standard is we go to anyone who is in the audience. So we are going to take Mr. Parrish first as a presenter.
Welcome back, Assessor Parrish.
Well, I want to thank you for your time, Honorable Chairman and members. I'm here again to give you an update on the possessory interest and the process that's happening. so I will try to be brief because I have a limited time. So I wanted to go over the latest information, and I will present you with the data, but I've done an analysis here. So on the 10 JP Joint Powers projects that we have in Orange County. As we have parallel, Waterford, we want to let you know that the gross rent was $9,657,000. Also, the bond payments, which is their mortgage, as it were, is $7,046,000. And of course, the free cash flow that they have on this particular project is $2,610,843. And we put in the possessory interest that we've sent them the bill, which they have not yet paid. The assessor, after the possessory interest tax, they're still making a profit of $1,464,000. I will do with the next one, Waterford Cameo Garrison. That starts out with 99% occupancy, gross rents of $9,204,000. Payment on the bonds, $6,396,000. The free cash flow is $4,896,000, and if they pay their possessory interest, they would still have a profit of $3,658,000. Jefferson Waterford is 99% full. Gross rents are $9,204,000. The payment on the bonds is $6,573,000. The free cash flow is $4,896,000, and the profit after paying their possessory interest, if they do it, which we're certain they will, $3,658,000. I could go through the whole thing, but my time is limited. I will give you an analysis of this. There is one property, of the 10, there's only one property that has a loss, and that's Center City and the Manat. It's 98% full, but they had an operating loss of $644,000. And if they paid their taxes, they would have a loss of $1,494,000. All of the others are positive, like Elaine, which is a Catalyst property, that would have a free cash flow of $2.369 million. Allure would have 3.6, instead of 2, it's 3,639,000. Breakwater, which is a Catalyst property, $3,415,000, and the mix, $259,000 with this.
Time has expired.
Thank you. So they're doing fine, and I would ask you to oppose Senate Bill 320 if you can, not to erode the constitutional possessory interest that we are allowed to assess. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Could I get a clarification from Mr. Parrish?
We have a question for you, Mr. Parrish.
So, number one, can you give me the bill number again?
Oh, yes, 320. Now, what
Okay.
320
All right.
says, they say, I'm glad you give me a little time to talk about 320, because 320 says that that the assessors shall not assess the tenants in the project. Originally, it tried to wipe out the possessory interest in the whole project, but now they're saying, well, they just want to protect the tenants. And we would never go after the tenants for such a small amount of possessory interest, because a tenant might live 2 or 3 months in an apartment complex. They may live 5 months. They may have a term of 10 months. They may have 12 months, 18 months, maybe as long as 24 months. Our minimum bill is $10,000 of value.
Okay. You're in opposition to that.
Member
I'm
Gaines?
in opposing it, yeah.
Okay.
I'm opposition to 320 because, first of all, nobody would ever do it. Our bill is like, other counties have more minimum bills.
I'm
because-
sorry, Chairman Vasquez, all due respect, Assessor
Sure.
Parrish, apologies, but this is matters not on the agenda. It's not
Oh,
appropriate to
sure,
have an
yeah, well, I was
extended
just asking a
discussion.
question, okay.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
really not appropriate to ask questions, so if I can
Okay.
ask the
Well,
board
wait-
members
wait-
to,
Wait a second. You gave us a review earlier today on bills that are moving through the legislature that impact the BoE, Senate Bill 320 by Skinner. So I don't know why it wouldn't be appropriate for me to ask the assessors point of view on that bill?
Because we've already passed that issue, we are on public comment on matters not on the agenda. So on these items, it is not appropriate to have discussion.
I don't understand that, but I will stop talking at this point. Thank you.
I would invite you to contact Assessor Parrish separately, since
Okay.
his address and contact information are well known.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
I move we take it out of order.
The matter's already been done. You would have to recall the matter if you were interested in bringing that up. But again, that was a report on legislation. I would also remind you that Ms. Renati reported that we are working on our legislative analysis, and once
Actually,
you
I
have
requested
received
the
that might be
analysis,
a
so it
good
should
time
come
to
back
have that
us.
discussion.
Yeah. And then at that point, we should get into a deeper dive. But thank you for bringing that up.
I'm happy to come and visit you again. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
You know, I must say, off the record, I enjoy so much. I came here early. It reminded me of my 8 years on the state board. I just enjoyed watching you and reminiscing about how much I loved being a State Board of Equalization member. Even at a cut in pay, I would be happy to be back on the board, but I'm terminally. And
I appreciate
I
that.
love what you do. You've got some wonderful people here, especially the executive director has done so much work. And it's a great honor to just be here. In fact, I feel like I should come here every month.
We need you to go talk to the legislators.
Yes. Yeah, and you know, the bill, we should be reunited with our former authority on the sales tax. That's really your forte. It was wonderful. I would drive up 2 or 3 times every month, smoking a cigar, thinking about the cases. I really enjoyed what I did, and I can't tell you how much I enjoy just sitting here. I'm going to be here more often if you don't mind it.
You do.
Thank you. Thank you all. You're all wonderful, every one of you.
All righty.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. The next person we have who've completed a public comment appearance sheet is Michael Hanna.
Thank you for your time. I am with the Orange County Assessor Department, and I just have a quick comment on joint power authorities that are being created with cities. The joint power authorities are being created by for-profit real estate developers in conjunction with various cities across the state. These entities provide very little public benefit, yet create bureaucracies that heavily benefit the for-profit developers who create and run them. The cities who have a voice in this process lose only 12% of the property tax revenue from these creations. The other 88% entities that do not have a voice in this process include the state of California in the form of backfill to the schools, first responders, counties, and special districts. The real estate developers that control the JPAs make millions of dollars in upfront fees. They also get administrative fees and millions of dollars in private bonds. In Orange County alone, we estimate that the administrators of the 10 projects will receive fees and bonds of approximately $138 million. They are taking current housing off the market with no new inventory created. This does nothing to alleviate any housing shortage. If anything, it exacerbates it by removing current housing available to certain people. The modest discounts given on rents do not justify the millions of dollars in property tax revenues lost. There is no oversight that would ensure the real estate developers rent to low-income residents, and since covering bond debt is the first priority, large-scale low-income rentals will likely never be achieved. Our office has carefully reviewed the applicable property tax laws and determined that the real estate developer administrators have long-term taxable possessory interest on these properties, and we are assessing them accordingly. We hope for your support in these complex issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Cicchetti, who's next?
Next on our agenda today is Gary Hunter, AVP Tax, AT&T.
Welcome.
Afternoon. Chair Vasquez and honorable members of the board. My name is Gary Hunter, and I'm an Assistant Vice President of Tax for AT&T. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you today about an important matter affecting state-assessed utilities and their ratepayers statewide. Due to a flaw in the law, utilities are being taxed at a property tax rate much higher than the rate on similarly situated locally assessed property. We know a few things for sure. This problem exists in 46 of the 58 counties. The rate discrimination against utilities is getting worse with no signs of reversing. If you refer to this chart here on the right, it shows the countywide average tax rate in Santa Clara County compared to the utility tax rate through time. Today, state-assessed property is being taxed at over double the rate applied to other property. Roughly 80% of the excess property taxes being paid because of the rate discrimination falls on rate-regulated utilities that will recover those taxes from the ratepayers. As the second chart shows, today this amounts to nearly $500 million annually. Moreover, in 6 short years, the total excess taxes on state-assessed utilities is expected to climb $1.5 billion annually. This is a heavy and unnecessary burden for ratepayers already struggling to make ends meet. We know fixing the problem does not come at the expense of local government. This issue does not involve the portion of the 1% tax rate, nor does it involve property taxes used for the day-to-day operations of schools. The current rate discrimination violates the state constitution, which entitles us to the same tax rate as locally assessed property. No more, no less. AT&T's position is the same as your board's interpretation of this constitution for almost 40 years. AT&T is asking for the board's help to resolve the situation. The board administers the property tax systems, and the board's expertise is recognized and expected by policymakers. The absence of the board's involvement could be perceived as agreeing to the status quo, a result most unfair to the utilities and the customers they serve. We ask for the board's help in bringing this issue forward so it may be resolved once and for all. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak today, and I'm prepared to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Cicchetti.
All righty. So we've done the,
Anybody,
Yeah.
is that everybody on the public?
we're going to go to the AT&T moderator. I have
go
no
ahead.
written comments. AT&T moderator, can you please let us know if we have anyone on the line who'd like to make a public comment at this time?
All right, again, from the phone lines, if you wish to make a comment, it's 1, then 0 on your touch-tone phone. An operator will take your name and give you further instructions. Again, from the phone lines, it's 1, then 0 to make a public comment. And no one has queued up in the phone line at this time. Please go ahead.
Thank you. The next item, are we ready? The
Go ahead,
next
I'm
item on the agenda is closed session. The board will recess and go into closed session to discuss pending litigation matters. County of Santa Clara versus Santa Clara Superior Court, AT&T Mobility LLC et al., real parties of interest, 6th District Court of Appeal, underlying case AT&T Mobility LLC et al. Versus County of Santa Clara et al., Santa Clara County Superior Court.
So we'll go ahead and take a recess,
We're
and then
going
we'll
to
come,
recess, that's correct.
recess, and then we'll come back and then
After
close
close.
out the meeting, because I know there's some adjournments, and we'll just save those until the end.
To the end, that's correct.
All right, so we don't have an estimated time on this thing, do we?
On your closed session, estimated time, I believe, was 30 minutes.
Okay, so it's 3:48, so, well, hopefully we'll be back before
Before
then.
that, yes.
We'll
Okay.
see. Okay, we'll take a recess,
Recess.
3:48.
There you go. So you all could go to the draw number.
We're going to go ahead and reconvene so we can adjourn.
Yes.
Couple minutes. We're going to go ahead and reconvene. Ms. Cicchetti, if you would just,
Okay, yes, my understanding is the board members have met in closed session and discussed litigation matters, and no action was taken. So the next item on the agenda is the last item for the day, closing remarks.
yes, I would just like to adjourn this meeting in memory of Bishop David O'Connell, who was killed actually at his home on Saturday. He was a native of County Cork, Ireland, who spent most of his 4 decades as a priest ministering in L.A. inner city. Following his ordination in the Archdiocese of Los Angeles in 1979, he served as associate pastor, then a pastor in several parishes in South L.A. He administered the communities dealing with gang violence, poverty, and worked to restore trust between residents and law enforcement in the wake of the '92 uprising in L.A. Working with immigrants was also a top priority for Bishop O'Connell, and he served as chairman of the Southern California Immigration Task Force, which helped coordinate the local church's response to the recent influx of migrants from Central America. Bishop O'Connell has been lauded as someone who walked among the people, reaching out not only to immigrants, but to gang members and homelessness and transients and others in need. He was known as a low-key priest with a down-to-earth demeanor who seemed most at ease with working people. He served so many years in South L.A. We all agree we will now adjourn this board meeting in his honor. And if there's no other adjournments, I would say we stand adjourned at 4:14. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, March the 21st, up here in Sacramento.
That's correct.
Thank you, and safe travels, everybody.
Yes, safe travels.